Hi, I'm Autumn. I work to tell the amazing stories of our students and alumni here at Penn Foster. Today, I'm really excited to talk with our graduate of the year, Amanda Boucher, who graduated from our medical billing and coding program. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great.
So, Amanda, you're our graduate of the year. So exciting. I want to start off. How does it feel to be our graduate of the year?
So, to be graduate of the year feels unbelievable. I thought that when we did the podcast for being finalist of the year, that would be the highlight. I had never expected to actually be chosen as graduate of the year, but here we are, and I am so excited because so many good things have happened since the last time that we did talk, and I cannot wait to share them. I'm coming live from my uh, conference room at my new job that I was able to secure with the help from my certificates from Penn Foster. So that's amazing. And I'm so excited. This is a new position for me that I've never done. I've done, the bits and pieces of it throughout my whole career, but this is kind of tying everything all together. And, it's just me here doing this. I am the biller. I am the coder. I am the one who gets the financials running in this place now. And I don't think I could have done it without Penn Foster.
That's amazing. And we're absolutely so proud of you. Aside from, a new job, how did you celebrate being graduate of the year?
I celebrated being graduate of the year. My boyfriend took me out to dinner. I was able to share that with my son, who was so excited for me because he was there kind of through the whole process of me going from, signing up to completing the coursework to actually graduating, and, to be able to tell him that all that hard work really did pay off. And not only was I a finalist, but now I'm graduate of the year. He was so happy for me, and just to see the look on his face and how proud he was made me so proud.
That's amazing. And I bet your boyfriend and son, I know when we spoke, you mentioned that your son, motivated you along and was saying, why aren't we studying together? And really, he helped you progress. So that's amazing. That's really great to hear.
Yes.
Amanda, I want to ask, why is this such an honor for you being named graduate of the year?
Being named graduate of the year is a huge honor for me because I had never gone to traditional college. When I graduated high school, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And college is expensive. And to not know what you want to do with the rest of your life at 18 years old, and then to enroll in full-time college and pack your life away and move, just didn't seem like the most effective route for me at that time. So I'm really glad that I got to wait until I was 100% sure what I wanted to do, what I was good at, what I could succeed in, and be able to put, my money and my time towards that instead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you touched on this a little bit, but what obstacles did you overcome to get here to be, not just graduated, but be our graduate of the year?
So I overcame a lot of obstacles because I did take an extended time to complete this course, and Penn Foster did allow me to kind of stop when I needed to, pick back up when I needed to. Whenever I was ready, they were here, which I did mention before. And I loved that about it because going to school at home online through a pandemic when you can't leave the house, you're also homeschooling children, you're also working from home. Some people worked from home. I did work from home, and doing it was a lot. And to be able to say, okay, it's a little overwhelming. I'm not fully 100% devoted, and I need to be. I could take a step back, kind of refocus, do what I needed to do, and then step right back into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me, how are you feeling about yourself now?
How do I feel about myself now? I feel probably more proud than I've ever felt before. I've done a lot of schooling in my life from point A to point B. I started doing medical assisting, which turned out not to really be for me personally. I'm only in front of all of I'm kind of a lot more of a background person, and I learned that, and I still take some of that health care information and kind of bring it with me. So I had started as a medical assistant, and then I was like, not for me. And if you are a medical assistant, hats off to you. It's a very hard career. It was hard, but I feel a lot more comfortable. I have a lot more, trying to think of the word. I have a lot more knowledge and a lot more confidence behind that knowledge now. And I walk a lot taller these days than I was before.
I love that. And you can see you're more confident, like you mentioned, you're reporting live from your new job.
Yes.
That's incredible. So I want to talk a little bit about this path and mention your job a little bit later in this, but I want to talk about your path at Penn Foster. So what were you up to before you decided to enroll? And what made you take the first step to enroll?
Before I decided to enroll, I was working as a revenue cycle analyst in a third-party billing company. And while I was doing a lot for them, I did not have the credentials to stand up and say, this is how I know this, and this is how, this is the background I have to be able to tell you that I know this, and for you to take that and actually be able to, use it, because it's all about really credentials and being able to prove that you know what you know with them. So there was a lot of times where I would be correcting things or questioning things or wanting to do more, but I didn't have the background. I didn't have the credentials. I didn't have really the paper or the education background to say, this is it. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm telling you. And this is the way we need to go in this direction. Because without that piece of paper, I always kind of got the question back of, what background do you have that makes you an expert in this? And to be able to say, I have a certificate, I have more than one certificate because I was able to do the AAPC and the AHIMA credentials, which helped me land this job because they wanted a specific certification. I can now do that, and I don't get those questions back. Nobody questions me on why I know this or why, what makes me the expert, because now I'm credentialed. I am the person that they go to for these questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Having those credentials and, the education to back it up really goes a long way. It makes you seem like an authority in the field. So I'm glad you mentioned that. That's great.
Yeah.
And what helped you succeed in your coursework? Was it friends, family, thinking about your ultimate goal of graduating and wanting a better career? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, what really, really helped me stay on track was the end goal. I am a very, I don't want to, I'm trying to think of the word. I am the kind of person who, when somebody tells me, what do you have that makes you the expert? I want to be able to say, this is what makes me the expert. This is what I have. This is what I've done. This is what I've worked towards. This is what I've wanted to do ever since I found out that this is something that I'm good at. This is something that I am very knowledgeable in, something that I picked up and ran with very well. And I had always been celebrated as somebody who was a go-to person, but was never able to be presented to others as that person due to the lack of credentials. So now being able to say and walk into a meeting and say, this is what I have, this is our, this is our AR for the month. This is how much I've brought it down. This is my percentage. This is what I'm aiming at. And it's just a lot easier for me to keep my head up and not be so discouraged all the time as I was before, because I was a go-to person, but I'm a person whose name wound up on that final document that says that they did the research and that they participated and came up with a lot of that information and things like that. And that always really bummed me out, because I do take pride in my work and I do work really hard. And to have that information or that information or those figures or those, whatever questions they may have, they never were able to credit me for any of that work. And now I feel like I get more than enough credit for doing everything that I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should keep your head up high. That's a great achievement. And, we're definitely so proud of you over here at Penn Foster. Can you tell me, what did completing your education at your own pace mean to you?
Completing my education at my own pace honestly meant everything to me, just because as an adult woman who was diagnosed at a later age with ADHD, I never quite knew why I couldn't learn the same way as other people. And I never quite knew why my path from A to B was always a lot different, or I would always get my information in kind of a roundabout way. And it was never the same as everybody else. I never worked the same. I never led the same educational process as everybody else. Because a lot of the it's not really a problem to have ADHD. A lot of the misconceptions is that you cannot pay attention. And I find that I can pay attention. I just pay attention in a different way. I hear things in a different way. I have to retain information in a different way. And to be able to do something at my own pace in a way that worked for me, finally, and with the knowledge that I did have, that I didn't need to sit down, study 8 hours a night and pass the test on a Wednesday. I could do it when I felt I was ready to do it, was so freeing. And I think it made the process so much easier for me, because I did have that opportunity to do it the way I needed to do it to be able to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone learns differently. And that's why,
Yes.
a self-education can be so helpful to some people.
Yes.
And I want to ask, how did education open the door for you for future opportunities? And I think, you're living that right now in your new role. So can you tell me about a little bit about that and your new job and what you're up to?
I am currently the billing director of a surgery center, a standalone orthopedic surgery center. So I went from really just being the claim pusher to the claim creator, the claim watcher, the claim everything. And to be able to see it from front to back, posting the payments, finding the information, having to rely on myself and my skills alone, along with the freedom to be able to make my own decisions as to how I get that information, how I present that information. It's no longer told to me how to do things. It's up to me to come up with how to do them. And I could not have done this without the help of Penn Foster, because those credentials were the exact ones that they were looking for here. And I was able to secure this job, which is so much better for me, for my family, for our living conditions, and everything is only going to get better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And where do you hope this honor of Graduate of the Year takes you?
You know what? I hope it takes me places that I never thought I could be, because that so far has been the biggest perk. Is I'm doing things now that I thought that I wouldn't get to do. I always thought that I would be one of a group who does things for another person, and now I am that group. And I do it for myself, I do it for my team, and they're able to come to me and they're able to trust in the information that I give back to them. They're able to trust in my expertise. I'm just so much happier. And I can't imagine where I would be without having gone through the Penn Foster program and getting to where I am today.
I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned, you're so much happier, and you can tell you're glowing. It's great. And I love seeing our students succeed, and you should be so proud of yourself. And you are one of those group, you're a leader. You've taken the steps to, secure this honor, which is really great. We had so many applications, and you really stood out, and you should be really proud of yourself. We're definitely proud of you.
Yeah.
And Amanda, I want to talk about your student experience. Can you tell me, what was your experience like navigating the student portal and, learning in an online platform like the student portal?
Learning in an online platform, it takes a little bit of getting used to, because you do have to discipline yourself, which can be a little bit of an issue if you are not used to, having to hold yourself accountable. But I think it was also a good learning process, because once you get to a point here where, like in this new job where it's just me, I don't have anybody to rely on here anymore. So if I don't know the answer, I have to go find the answer. And I think that Penn Foster really helped, because they had so many resources for me to be able to use, and they had so many, and it was just easy to find the information that I needed. So I think that just between having to self-discipline and being able to find and utilize all the resources really, really helped get me to where I am today, because I'm having to use those skills all over again in a new setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about, how did you take notes or study using the student portal, and how did the portal help you with that?
So the student portal does have a small notepad, I think, that you can pop up, and you're able to take short notes while the videos are playing and things like that. But I am more of a person who needs to have that to look back on. So I did do a lot of my notes handwritten, but I was able to, write down what I needed to remember. So while some people, they need to write down, word for word, I don't really need that. I only need keywords to remember certain information. Where I had done a few courses before, I already had experience in them. So I really was able to just keep what I needed and what I was learning fresh, handy and front and center. And then anything else that I needed, I could go back to, because once you're done the courses, they don't disappear. They don't end. They don't restrict access to them or anything. You can go back and reread whatever you need to reread. You can listen to whatever you need to listen to. And I think that was really helpful, because if you're a person like me who, takes notes shorthand, and I don't always remember the keywords that I wrote down, or sometimes I am in a train of thought that maybe isn't the same from one day to the next. It does happen often with me, that I was able to go back and go, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I meant, and kind of clarify for myself. So it was really easy to utilize everything that was in front of me, but it helped to be able to go back whenever I needed to, because a lot of it plays off of each other. So the way that it goes is, A to B. You learn the, ethics and first, and then anatomy and physiology, and everything else leads up to the coding portion. And even if you don't retain all of that information right off the bat, it's not a problem to go back and find what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And how did you feel our platform helped you keep track of your studies?
So as you complete your sections, or your I was calling them chapters because that's the way that it looked to me, is it'll tell you, you know, the last couple that you've finished, and it's easy to just go back and click those links. So it presents all of the information on one dashboard so that you're able to see what you're doing now and what you've already completed. And it checks it off for you that you've completed it, but it doesn't mark it unusable or anything like that. So while you may have done it, passed the test, and it's all set for you now, you can still go back and you can read all that information. It's right there in that paragraph before the one that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you mentioned before, thinking about the ultimate goal helped motivate you. Can you tell me, you mentioned seeing the progress and what you completed. How did seeing that in the student community, or I'm sorry, how did seeing that in the student portal maybe help motivate you further? Because there's, you know, the completion bar, how far you've come and how much you've done.
Yes. So that completion bar was it was helpful, and it was also kind of a catalyst, because you're like, all right, I'm 15% done. Can I get to 20? All right, I'm 20% done. And then as you keep going, you keep looking back, and that completion bar just keeps going up and up and up. And, you know, once you get to 80, 90% done, you're like, I am so close to being done. And it's just, it was so good to see where you came from. And it's kind of like, I'm trying to think. It's kind of like when you're in a video game and it's got a loading bar on it, and it's something that you've been waiting for a really long time. Like, you've been waiting for this game to come out for months, right? And you finally get to that 90%. You're like, all right, I got 10% until I'm done. And that was the most satisfying thing, is just to watch that little loading bar get higher and higher and higher, and knowing that you're this much closer to not only being done, but to learning more new things. You know, things that, because I did have the background. I had been working as a medical biller for a number of years, but I still learned things that I had never known before, even through all those years of working in the field. So it was great. I liked it.
Good. I love that. And I love that you said, you know, it's showed you how far you've come, but also how much you still have to learn and grow, and there's still more to learn. So I love that you said that. I want to move on to talking about motivation. So what are your tips for success as an online Penn Foster student?
My tips for success as an online student are to just find a group that works for you. It doesn't need to be the same as everybody else. You don't need to work the same as, you know, the next student to be able to complete this. You can do it at your own pace, what works for you. It's completely individualized. It's not, you know, the rest of the class is waiting on you to finish to move on to the next thing, and you have to rush, and you feel so weighted by, you know, the expectations of everybody else for you to get this done at the same time, which can be really unnerving, you know, because like I said before, my brain doesn't work the same as everybody else's. So if I was expected to complete the same task in the same amount of time as somebody else who, you know, maybe does study a more typical way of, you know, they read the chapter, study it 4 hours a night, study the next chapter, study 4 hours a night, take the test, pass the test. I couldn't work that way, but that doesn't mean that the next person couldn't.
Right.
So it's completely individualized, and it's whatever you need out of it, you take out of it.
Absolutely. Can you tell me a little bit about how did you stay motivated in your studies?
My son, like we had mentioned before, he was a huge motivation in my studies, just because a lot of it we did together, because we were going through the pandemic. We were stuck in the house together. He was doing school. I was working. I was trying to complete school. And it really got to the point where it turned into kind of like a bonding time for us. It was a time for us to sit, and we may not have been working on the same things or even, conversing back and forth, but we were still working towards a goal for each of us. So he was working towards getting to the 5th grade, and I was working towards getting certified. And for the two of us, those are really big deals.
I love that so much. And I know you talked about that a little bit in the podcast. And
Yes.
I just love that you used that time together that, was a challenging time to really better the both of you. So I do love that. And Amanda, I want to ask, think back to how you felt when you first enrolled at Penn Foster and where you are now as Graduate of the Year. What would you say to students who may be feeling how you felt back then?
It's scary. It's scary to do something new or something that you've wanted to do, and to put the money behind it also when you might not have a lot of it is a really scary thing, because you're like, all right, I'm going to pay this money and then it's up to me. And if you don't have a lot of confidence in yourself, that can be really scary. And I know for me, I didn't have that much confidence in myself when I had first started this, because of just all of the times that, I was a go-to person but didn't get that credit. It really builds up and it weighs heavy on you that, like, I'm good enough to do the research, but I'm not good enough to have my name in the credits, and that I wanted so badly to have my name in the credits just to get some form of recognition for all of the work that I was doing, because I was working really hard, but it felt like I was never actually getting anywhere. So I think that the nerves when I first started compared to how I was feeling every day going into work and knowing that I was going to do the work and somebody else was going to put their name on it, it was kind of like a trade-off. Like, I would much rather be nervous about starting something new that's going to get me to where I want to be than to go into work every day and feel like, oh, I'm going to do this all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you said you did the work, but you wanted your name on the credits. And now you have a new job, you're Graduate of the Year. I mean, those are some great credits to have, and titles with your name attached to them. I love that. Yeah. So Amanda, I want to ask, what was your favorite thing about Penn Foster?
My favorite thing about Penn Foster was just the ability for me to figure out how I needed to do things. Like, Penn Foster gives you everything that you need, but lets you use it in the way that you need to. So there are deadlines if you need them, but they're movable, they're transferable. You don't have to, do it. I think when I had started, it was set for every Wednesday, and then that ended up not working out for me. And I think just the flexibility of everything really, really helped me out, because I'm a person who needs a lot of flexibility in my life. Just because of the differences in the way I do think and the way I do perform certain things. It's not always A to B. Sometimes it takes me a little bit of a zigzag pattern to get to the same spot as anybody else would. And Penn Foster really let me take charge of that and run with it. And I was able to kind of figure out how I learn, not as a student in high school where everything is told to you, where you have to do this, you have to do it this way, and you have to do it this way by this time. I was able to say, okay, that way is not working for me. I didn't do my best. What other way can I try this? And I was able to, and they do give you multiple chances. So you are able to retake any test grades that you don't think are maybe the best. And it really was just all about the flexibility, because that is the kind of person that I am. In my life, in my job, and in pretty much everything, I've learned that I need the flexibility to be able to do things in a way that I can understand them.
Yeah, absolutely. And learning, and it's not always a straight path for everyone. So I like that you said, flexibility allowed you to zigzag a little, and that's perfectly. Amanda, how does it feel to be a Penn Foster graduate?
How does it feel to be a Penn Foster graduate? It feels, I shout it from the rooftops. Like, I'm not a person who isn't going to yell, I went to Penn Foster, I graduated from Penn Foster, I'm an alumni. I'm going to tell everybody. because I had such a good experience, and it also allowed me to grow through that experience. I learned about me. I learned about disciplining myself. I learned about, using good motivators as opposed to this, you have to get it done because somebody else told you to. It was because I wanted to get it done, or because that was me and my son's time to do things and get things done. It ended up being a much more positive experience than I had ever had in my education before. So it feels really great to be a Penn Foster graduate, and I tell everybody.
I love that. And you should shout it from the rooftops and be so proud. Amanda, thank you so much, and congratulations on being our graduate of the year. And I wish you so much success in your new job and with your new exciting title and role. And we just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.